Today we're going to create a song by only using wavecraft instruments, and we're going to create all instruments from scratch. Let's start with a bass. A bass has a low frequency. Let's say 120 to 130 Hertz, dropping down in frequency. It's going to be 1 second long. We're going to use a sawtooth wave for this. We're also going to add a small attack and a release to it. And finally, we're going to add some inharmonic partials. Now we're going to save it to disk. And the next instrument we're going to make is a kick. For a kick we will use a sine wave. It's going to be very short. Let's say 0.28 seconds. And the volume is going from maximum to 0. In this case we don't need to use an attack or release. And the frequency is a bit higher than on the bass. It's going to drop from 200 Hertz to 40. I'm going to save that to disk as well. And then we're going to create a shaker. For this we're going to use some noise. It's going to be a very short sound. Let's say 0.08 seconds. And we're also going to add an attack and a release to this. Like this. So the hissing sound starts gentle and ends gentle as well. I'm gonna save this to disk. And then we'll have some toms. For the toms we will use a sine wave. It's gonna be 0.27 seconds. Volume is going down. Frequency is also going down, but it's a bit lower. It's going to go from 137 to 180. And we're gonna remove the attack and release. Then we will create a lead. A lead is a very catchy sound. We're gonna use a sawtooth wave for that. We're gonna make it quite long, let's say 1.8 seconds. And it's gonna be 700 Hertz. We're also gonna add some inharmonic partials for this. Makes the sound more rich. Also we're gonna clone this sawtooth and make it into a sine wave, and then we're gonna repeat it, creating the inharmonics to make the sound even more rich. I'm gonna save this to disk and move on to the next instrument, and that's gonna be a flute. We're gonna make a small sound with a very high frequency. For the flute, we're gonna use a triangle, and the frequency is gonna be 1000 Hertz to a bit higher, and then we're gonna create some sine waves, so the frequency will go up and down from 1000 to 1050 Hertz to give it a bit of vibration. We're also gonna add some odd harmonics. Those are very common for the flute. Actually, we can do with only 3 odd harmonics, and we're also gonna add a small attack and some release. Alright, and then the last instrument we're gonna use is a lucky pick. By pressing this button, you can generate a completely random sound, and we're gonna just keep on playing until we find something interesting. Okay, we're gonna use this one and call it instrument X. Now we're gonna move on to FL Studio to import these wave files and create some music with it. Okay, we're now at FL Studio and we're gonna create a new project from template, a basic 808 with limiter. We're gonna add our instruments to that. And the first sound we're gonna make is the beat. It's gonna be 64 bars long. I'm gonna use a kick. I'm gonna add some variation to that. And we're also gonna use a shaker. Alright, that's it. I'm gonna rename this to beat. And I'm gonna create the next pattern. It's gonna be bass. For the bass, we're gonna use a chord progression. I have some over here. Let's use a C major. And then we're gonna create the lead. I've also created a melody for that already. It's over here. I'm gonna clone this instrument 2 times. So we're gonna create some variations. We're also gonna create a second lead pattern and a third one. And I have them here already. All right. The next pattern we're gonna make is the flute. I've also created a pattern for that already. It's quite fast. And finally we're gonna create a pattern for the toms. Actually, there's one more pattern we need to create, and it's for the random instrument X. I've also created a melody for that already. So now we're gonna create the arrangement. I'm gonna start with the beat and add the lead. Copy it a couple of times. Then we're gonna switch to the flute and then to lead 2 and lead 3, and also we're gonna put in the instrument X, and we'll end with lead 2. I think that's it. We're gonna replace this part of the beats with the toms, and we're gonna create some automation clip on the volume. The volume for the flute, that's channel 2. We're just gonna make it fade in and out. And we're gonna do the opposite for the lead at that stage. So I put the lead on channel 5. We're gonna automate channel 5 and make it opposite of the flute. So we're gonna fade this out so the flute can kick in. And finally we're gonna also add another automation clip to the master volume to fade out at the end. Oh, I actually forgot to add the bass, so we're gonna add the bass to some parts of the song. Alright, that's it. So that's a musical piece created only with use of Wavecraft instruments. Thank you for watching.